Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus here with a review of the very first toy release to come out of Transformers Prime. It's the San Diego Comic-Con 2011 exclusive Deluxe Optimus Prime. I hope you're ready to hear the word Prime a whole lot. To kick things off, let's hit up my personal Wayback Machine and take a look at the toy's specialized packaging. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you know this, but Hasbro likes to go balls out when it comes to San Diego Comic-Con exclusive packaging, and the Prime First Edition Prime is no slouch. This thing looks totally like an Optimus Prime chest, and it opens up like an Optimus Prime chest. Although, I will mention, this is actually just a big magnet that you can take off and stick on your fridge if you like, and it just adheres to either side of this thing, sort of tenuously. Opening this up, you can see that we get Optimus Prime inside the Matrix of Leadership. There's also some stuff over here, and there's some stuff over here. Anyway, this Matrix of Leadership is the big draw, and kind of covers the little instruction book down there in the corner. This thing is just a big clamshell shaped like a Matrix with cardboard inside colored to make it look more like a Matrix. And on the back you get this graphic and some granity whatnot. There's also a lanyard. This thing's held in place with Velcros, and you can actually leave it all together, although it'll undo itself as it just did there. Problem solved! Alright, so opening this thing up, you have to cut some tape when you get this yourself, but I just had to pull this apart, and you can, as you see, you can leave the lanyard together up there, kind of like a hinge. Kind of just ease some of this cardboard out of the way, and boom, there's your Optimus Prime. And if you want to still wear your Matrix like a badass, now you get a big Matrixy glow in the back. And you can totally hit it off with lots of people using this thing as an icebreaker. I mean, I know that we live in an age of social disorder and whatnot, but really, who can refuse a giant clamshell Matrix of Leadership? Just check out this stirring example. I know what you're thinking. What's this alpha male amongst the herd of nerds doing with this large Matrix of Leadership around his neck? Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm showing you who your future soulmate is. Because let me tell you something, baby. There ain't nothing that says definite relationship as much as a Matrix of Leadership, especially when there is an Optimus Prime inside. So, I don't know if you knew this, but I drugged your drink back when you were over at the refreshments bar, and I know it's getting a little bit foggy right now, but just collapse onto my shoulder and I'll carry you back to my Winnebago and introduce you to my mother. Prime's vehicle mode looks pretty on model and generally works. It looks a bit funny from the rear with the unflattened insides of the shins exposed for all to see. There's a trailer hitch which can conveniently hang onto Prime's weapon if you want. By the way, it rolls. While the colors and paint are all nicely delivered, it overall seems a bit bland. I think it strikes me that way because it lacks any of the Entertainment Pack's yellow paint apps on the lights. Anyway, it's time for Prime to transform! A lot of stuff happens at once in this transformation, and if you aren't careful, you may have 2 or 3 steps of the process colliding into each other a little violently. I am overall impressed with how much this half of a 2-pack can do to swap modes, though. There are not only a lot of moving parts, but also a lot of sturdy locking tabs. The backpack does a few extra motions I really like, too. For a figure that is, by design, part of a DVD pack-in entertainment pack, Deluxe Prime Squared ends up with a surprisingly decent sculpt. The proportions are almost awesome, marred only by the strangely long arms, a visual trick that can be solved by painting the gray wrist pieces red. Check out Piaz for an example. He looks a bit funny from behind, but I do really appreciate how cleanly his backpack bunches together. His chest does involve the oddity of having fake windows over his real windows, but I can see that was done for the sake of the arm transformation. Unique to the SDCC Prime are his darker pectoral windows and his lack of several yellow and silver paint apps. Oh well. Deluxe Prime comes with one accessory, his blaster gun rifle projectile weapon. It slips happily over his hand and gives the vague illusion of having transformed out of his forearms. Kind of. If only it went down a little bit farther. The posability on this Deluxe Prime is not bad at all. His ball-jointed head works, and the panel it's on actually gives him a little bit of rearwards tilt if you want him to look up or for some reason fly like Superman. His arms are in theory good, the joints are all decent and present. He's got everything I'd like out of a Deluxe, including a really cool ball-jointed wrist on his somewhat long forearms, but the axis of turning on the shoulder is weird. As you can see, it's not really in the center of the shoulder, it's more on the front. So, especially when you turn his arm like this, you can see how odd that can start to get. These little bits, by the way, are kind of posable, I guess, if you want his shoulders to emote. I don't know if that's some kind of thing people are into, but I'm not one to judge. His waist joint is there. Unfortunately, though, the size of his hips means that it only has a very limited range of movement because his legs will bump into the backpack. That's very unfortunate, and I'm not sure how that could have been engineered around other than adding stuff to shift this whole backpack up, but kind of sucks. His legs otherwise are great, though. He's got a thigh cut, which is something I have a weird obsession over. No double-jointed knee, but it's still a decent knee, and his ankles have a little bit of side-to-side motion if you tilt the foot forward. Otherwise, it can tend to get blocked up on these titanic heel spurs that actually sort of outsize the very foot they're attached to. On the bright side, those massive heel spurs do mean that this guy can assume most any pose and not fall over, as they afford him a great amount of ground-based stability, as opposed to air-based stability, like when these toys fly. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to tell you about that, but it's coming in 2027. Flying toys. Believe it. Anyway, this Prime is a decently posable figure. For a Deluxe, he does a good enough job to not feel disappointing, and I feel satisfied messing around with him. It's just that price point that he tends to go for that sort of bites, regardless of these qualities that I'm showing off right now. By the way, here he is next to a tall, cool can of Coke Zero, the real Coca-Cola taste, so refreshing with zero sugar, but all the taste. It gets me through the day and makes me feel like a champion. Tu le goût beau Coca-Cola, zero sucre. Believe it. While this was interesting at the time of its release, the SDCC version of Deluxe Prime Optimus Prime doesn't really hold up to its extremely short test of time. The figure itself is pretty good, and I certainly would recommend it to fans of the design, the show, or the character. It goes above and beyond the usual call of one half of a Deluxe DVD 2-pack, and impressed me with its surprising complexity. Unfortunately, only a few months after its release, an improved version has become available in the form of the actual DVD Entertainment Pack, and all the SDCC version has to fall back on is its packaging. A very cool piece of packaging for sure, but it's also the only reason to look into this guy. If you want the box, go for it. Otherwise, you have a better option hitting retail right now. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I hope you're used to me saying the word Prime, and I hope you're not tired of it, because it's going to happen a whole lot in the coming months. Prime has begun, Prime is arriving, Prime is here! By the way, big thanks out to Keith Justice of Henshin Justice Unlimited for providing me with this version of the Prime from SDCC Prime's Prime-related Prime exclusive. There's a bunch more Prime to come, so let's get primed for some Prime reviews at some Prime time. And, I can't do this anymore. Goodbye, everybody. Be they from another world or another timeline, a hero is a hero. Henshin Justice Unlimited. All for justice and justice for all.